Jennifer and James Crumbly waking up in separate cells and in the same Michigan jail as their 15-year-old son, Ethan Crumbly, there since Tuesday after a school shooting rampage in which 4 students were killed.
The mother and father now face involuntary manslaughter charges as prosecutors want them to bear some responsibility for the school shooting. This morning, there are new details on the arrest of the parents who police say were found hiding in a vacant building in Detroit after having withdrawn $4,000 from an ATM.
The parents pleading not guilty in a video arraignment on Saturday. The judge imposing $500,000 bond for each after the prosecution argued they were flight risks. Let's get right to the latest from ABC's Trevor Ault, who is live in Oakland County, Michigan for us this morning. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Stephanie. James and Jennifer Crumbly are accused of buying the weapon used in this shooting for the alleged shooter and missing multiple glaring warning signs, so much so that the prosecutor says they could have prevented this massacre, and they didn't. And this morning, as the Crumbly family is now locked up here in Oakland County, the school is clarifying its actions, having sent this alleged shooter back to class hours before the shooting.
This morning, James and Jennifer Crumbly, the parents of the accused Oxford High School shooter, each being held on $500,000 bond.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
The couple pleading not guilty to 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. Jennifer Crumbly fighting tears.
How are you pleading to count 4?
Not guilty.
James Crumbly shaking his head at the prosecutor's accusations.
Your Honor, this is a very serious, horrible, terrible murder and shooting, and it has affected the entire community. And these 2 individuals could have stopped it.
Prosecutors called the Crumblys a flight risk after the couple missed their arraignment Friday, saying they withdrew $4,000 from an ATM and were arrested after an hours-long manhunt led to them being found in an empty Detroit warehouse. But the couple's attorneys insist they weren't trying to flee.
But our clients were absolutely going to turn themselves in. It was just a matter of logistics.
They're now in the same jail as their son, who's pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and terrorism, but the family is not together.
No talking, no communication. They're all 3 in isolation.
Prosecutors say James Crumbly had his son with him as he bought the handgun on Black Friday that was later used in the rampage that left 4 students dead. And the school now addressing criticism of its actions leading up to the shooting. The prosecution alleges that morning a teacher reported a picture the suspect drew of a person appearing shot, with disturbing phrases like blood everywhere and the world is dead. The Crumblys were called in, but their son was sent back to class. The superintendent now saying in a statement the suspect claimed the drawing was part of a video game he was designing and informed counselors that he planned to pursue video game design as a career. Then, while waiting for his parents, the teen asked for his science homework, and at no time did counselors believe the student might harm others based on his behavior, responses, and demeanor, which appeared calm.
And the superintendent says the morning of the shooting, the Crumblys flatly refused to take their son home. And given the fact this student had no prior disciplinary infractions, the school felt it was better to send him back to class than to send him home to an empty house. Now, having said that, the superintendent is now calling for a third-party investigation into the events leading up to this shooting. Lindsay.
Trevor, thank you. Joining us now is the Sheriff of Oakland County, Michigan, Michael Bouchard. Sheriff, thank you so much for your time and joining us this morning. If it's true, as their lawyer says, that the Crumblys were going to turn themselves in, why did you feel then that you needed to go after them?
Well, I mean, that would have been fine if they did turn themselves in, or even if they were going to. But when we have been issued felony warrants, any kind of serious charge against any person, we don't wait for them to turn themselves in. We immediately begin to go look for them.
Where are the parents and Ethan Crumbly right now, and are they all being cooperative?
They are not speaking to us, any of them, and they are all in my jail, all segregated in separate cells and constantly monitored.
Are you investigating anyone in the school system over the handling of Ethan Crumbly on the day of the shooting?
Well, obviously, the investigation revealed that there were discussions that happened with the shooter the day before and the day of that certainly we wish we were brought into the loop. We have protocols that would have been triggered that we have used and continue to use. In fact, the day after this tragedy happened, we received a tip. We investigated it, got brought into it by a different school district. We arrested another 15-year-old in a different school district for threats against the school. And then our protocol triggers follow on. We go to the home and we do a search and determine access to weapons and credibility of the threat. That would have been our protocol had we been brought in.
What can you tell us about potential charges that the person who potentially gave assistance to the Crumbleys to give them access to the warehouse that they might face?
Well, that's obviously also under investigation. Currently, we believe an individual clearly gave them access, let them into that secured area, and after the warrants were in fact issued for them and they were wanted. So once all the facts are put together and presented to the prosecutor for charging decisions.
And how are the officers who responded to the shooting doing?
All of my people are struggling. You know, it's the worst possible thing you can imagine to deal with death in our business. We do it a lot. But what's really the most terrible always is when you deal with involving children. And certainly this situation, I asked the probably most difficult and unusual thing for a human being to do, and that's to walk past, run past a child that's suffering, panicking, screaming, whatever the case may be, to go to the sound of chaos, go to the sound of gunfire, because they have to stop that threat. Every second they delay to comfort or aid anyone else means that shooter could be taking down 5 or 6 more. And that's what happened. So they ended up confronting him. He still had 18 rounds of ammunition, which I keep reminding them that could be 18 more kids. So, but they're struggling with it because you have to run past other kids that are hurt. And that's a difficult thing to do for men and women that are in this business because they want to help people, because they care.
Sheriff Bouchard, we thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.